Hey everyone, it's Nathan of Nathan Harrington Coaching. Today, we're diving into a crucial skill for any leader: listening. And if you just had the thought, oh, I already know everything about listening, then this is definitely for you, because you just demonstrated one of the biggest impediments to listening, which is thinking we know everything. So settle in and let's look at the 6 advanced practices that will take your listening and your relationships to the next level. Let me start by sharing a quick story about a time when listening transformed a really challenging situation for me. So I had this former employee, let's call her Tammy. Tammy was the general manager of our largest branch, and we had a one-to-one meeting every week. Now, one thing to know about this company is that we had created this culture of really putting people first, making all of our customers and our team members feel seen and known and appreciated. And every week, Tammy would come to our one-to-ones, and she wanted to talk about the checklist. Yeah, she wanted to talk about how the cleaning checklist weren't getting done, the supply checklist, the maintenance checklist. And when she did talk about people, it was about how bad and wrong her team was for not getting the checklist done. And I always got the impression that she was just trying to steamroll her team into getting them to follow her directions. Over time, I really started to develop this personal bias or way of listening that Tammy didn't really care about her people. But for me, that wasn't a bias. It was the capital T truth. Tammy really didn't care about people from my perspective. Then, one day, I realized it. I saw my personal bias for what it was and how it was impacting the way I was listening to her. Or better said, how I wasn't listening to her. I saw how judgmental I had been, and that I was so frustrated and was being ineffective in coaching Tammy because of how I was listening. So at my next one-to-one with Tammy, I started off the meeting telling her, Tammy, I need to apologize to you for something. And I told her the whole thing, and I said, I'm sorry for listening to you like you don't care about people. Then Tammy just burst into tears. And she says to me 2 things. First, she says, I know I come off that way, and it's so frustrating for me because I've gotten that feedback before, but I just forget to slow down. And I wind up bulldozing people with all of my checklist. Then she said, and it's also frustrating because the reason I'm so obsessed with getting all the checklist done is because I actually really do care about people. The way I see it is that if I handle all the little logistical details of the branch, that will create the best experience for people. And right then, I saw Tammy in this whole new light. It was like I was seeing her for the first time, and our relationship changed forever. From then on, instead of trying to fix something that was wrong with her and sitting there silently judging her leadership style, I was able to support her in her strengths and develop an approach that made an impact that was completely aligned with the company's values. Over the next year, Tammy developed a whole new set of habits and a whole new way of being. She was still a powerhouse when it came to logistics, and she got really great at making sure the people around her felt known and supported and empowered. Now, this was all about 10 years ago now, and Tammy has become a completely different person. We get together for coffee every now and then, and it's just amazing to see who she is now as a leader and a wife and a mother and just an extraordinary human being. And while she is the one that did all of the hard work of developing new skills and habits, I know that she was able to do that out of how I started listening to her. Listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about understanding and connecting beyond our biases, our assessments, and what we think we know based on what we see on the surface. Developing your listening skills is essential. If you want to make a difference and truly influence your people and the results you're able to produce as a team, everything has got to begin and end with listening. It builds trust and rapport, it enhances problem solving, and it allows for true collaboration. Now, I know there are challenges to this all over the place. Distractions are everywhere. Prejudgments can really seem like they're the truth, and reactive listening often means that we're thinking about our response instead of truly going for understanding. So, here are the 6 advanced practices for overcoming these challenges and becoming an extraordinary listener. First, be present. I know, maybe a little cliche, but it's worth reminding ourselves of, because the moment we stop being present, everything else falls apart. Give the speaker your full attention. Put away distractions, make eye contact, and demonstrate that you are engaged. If you find yourself being really challenged to be present in a moment, acknowledge that, say that out loud, and do whatever you need to do to get present. Sometimes, for example, I'll think of something that I need to do. It just comes across sort of my mind, and I'll just ask the person to give me a moment to write that thing down. I'll even tell them, like, hey, I really want to be present with you, but I just thought of this thing that I have to do later and I don't want to forget it, and it's really distracting me. So just let me write it down quickly so I can fully listen. Here's the next way to be a better listener, and this one may feel a little out of left field. You've got to live your life with integrity. You've got to be diligent about managing your life and your to-do list powerfully. When you're doing this, when you're being honest, and when you're living true to your core values, you're able to listen more keenly because you don't have any lingering to-dos or even those low levels of guilt that can wind up floating around in our space when we're not being who we want to be across the different areas of our lives. Another way to up your listening game, again, this is a little bit of the basics, but what makes these advanced practices is that masters are always practicing the basics. Reflect and paraphrase what people are actually saying. Yeah, you heard me. Repeat back what you've heard. And you can use a combination of their words and your own. It's like holding up a mirror so they know that you're not just nodding along like a bobblehead. This shows them that you're really tuned in, and it has the added benefit of squashing any misunderstandings before they turn into a game of broken telephone. The fourth way to take your listening to the next level is to empathize. Now, this is a little bit of a buzzword, I know, so let's take a moment and linger on what we mean here. This specifically means being curious about, asking about, and truly caring about the emotions that you hear. You're saying things like, wow, you sound really troubled to me. How are you feeling about that? Try to understand the speaker's feelings and their perspectives. Show empathy. What that looks like is by acknowledging their emotions and really putting yourself in their shoes. Next, get good at asking open-ended questions. It's really an important skill to develop, but at the same time, you've got to be freaking more curious, as I said before. Like, notice the biases that get in the way of you being more curious, right? You want to ask open-ended questions, but also notice how much you think you already know the answer to those questions, and that knowing might even get in the way of you asking the questions in the first place. Set aside what you think you know, and you might discover a deeper conversation that you didn't even think was possible. One of the best books I've read about communication is called Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. In it, he explains that open-ended conversations can help uncover what people really want out of a conversation. Is it more practical? Is there emotional connection that people are looking for? Or is it simply social? Really good open-ended questions prompt people to share more than just simple yes or no answers, allowing for a more comprehensive understanding of their experiences, feelings, and values. This approach helps in building empathy and a stronger connection between conversation partners. For example, instead of asking, "Did you have a good weekend?" you might ask, "What was the highlight of your weekend?" This not only invites the person to share more details, but also signals that you're truly interested in their experiences and feelings. Okay, so here's number 6, and it's a big one. If you want to be a better listener, you've got to learn to shut the f*** up and be patient. Let the speaker finish their thoughts without interjecting. Interruptions can break someone's train of thought and make them feel really unheard. Even learning to hold a space of silence at the end of a statement to allow them to say anything else that might come up. Sure, it might feel a little awkward, but sometimes breakthrough thinking can come in those moments of silence when you think that they're done. Not only does this type of practice demonstrate a real respect, but it also allows for a more thoughtful, meaningful conversation and can allow for extraordinary results. Developing the capacity to truly listen takes practice and intention, but the rewards are worth it, y'all. By becoming a better listener, you'll build stronger relationships, solve problems more effectively, and improve collaboration and teamwork. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and comment and subscribe for more leadership and personal development tips. And hey, share this video with someone who could benefit from becoming a better listener. Let's spread the power of effective listening together. Thanks again for tuning in and listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.